Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Leadership Toolkit, the definitive leadership podcast where I bring on leaders from multiple verticals of business and have conversations. I want to have collaborative conversations with people from all over management and leadership to be able to bring extra stories and life advice and skills to you that are tuned in and either listening to or watching the show. This week, I've got an absolutely amazing guest. We were just talking right before in the green room, right? I think we've known each other for almost 20 years at this point. My guest, he is a local entrepreneur, runs two businesses. He's a restaurateur, and I would like to introduce. I am honored to introduce my good friend, Mr. Alton Blue. So Blue is muted. Going to unmute it, maybe. There we
Yeah,
go.
man.
We live, man. How you doing today, bro?
I'm well. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. So, as I mentioned, you and I have been friends for a long, long time now. I didn't realize how long until we were talking here just a minute ago.
Yeah,
So,
man. A
into
long
this, as I mentioned, we're just going to have you share some of your skill set, some of the things, the places you got started. So first of all, if you don't mind, Blue, and Alton goes by Blue. I've known him; he's my boy Blue forever.
Yeah.
Um, and so you can look him up on social media. He runs uh, what is it called? Fly Kicks and Vintage. It's a
Fly Kicks and
sneaker.
Vintage. It used to be brick and mortar. Now we're just doing things online on the marketplaces. We have a website, but it's under maintenance right now. I'm switching some things up on there. So once we get that all hashed out, everything settled back on there, we'll get that thing back rocking.
Yep.
Right now, we're doing a lot on e-commerce platforms, Grail, Depop, Poshmark, eBay, all that stuff.
And then as I mentioned, you're a local restaurateur. You run the Mactory,
The
right?
Mac
Gourmet mac and cheese and a
Yep.
lot of other stuff. So yeah, if you would, I'll shut up here for a minute and give you a chance. Just give a little bit of history of who you are, what you're
Okay.
doing, kind of what life's about, man.
All right, right on. So I was originally born in Texas, lived in California for a little while, and was blessed to move to Colorado Springs as a young, probably about fourth grader. Uh, got my chops, just working in restaurants and uh, various different jobs. I was kind of like a jack of all trade, quick learner. Um, so I would just, I would get on the job and I would learn really fast, and I did pretty well for a while doing that. Um, I started working at a car dealership where Mike was one of the trainers, managers, and
Yep, that's where we met.
that's where we met. And I started off at the company as a detailer, learned a lot about the car business and just life, being around some more positive male figures that I had kind of grew up around, which was great. Um, I got into a position where I was able to switch into the sales department. Mike ended up being my manager, team leader. Um, and it was rough, because I was kind of a rough guy at that time. I was like young and kind of stupid, but a lot of things that Mike, would try to drill into us. A lot of it kind of was like a seed, and later on, as I got into business, a lot of that stuff started making sense. So I guess that's what some of the stuff we'll talk about today. Just a lot of things like just like leading a team to a goal. I feel like nowadays a lot of people, they kind of go to work and they do what they got to do to not get fired. But I remember Mike, he used to always say like, so I can't remember the exact verbiage, but I remember like it was something like, why even show up if you're not gonna, if you're not gonna put your best foot forward. So, now like I'm that guy, like where like, whatever has to be done, we gotta do it. Because, like I was saying earlier, people work hard for their money. So if you're, offering a product or a service or something, it needs to be good.
Right.
Uh, you got to give them a reason to come and deal with you. They don't really buy the. I remember I learned this at McCloskey's. They don't buy the car. They buy you in a sense because you're the difference maker, because they can buy a Nissan Altima or Maxima or Mercedes-Benz. They can buy that anywhere. There's a million dealerships. There's a million guys. So what makes it special? You. So you got to differentiate yourself, from the other guys, how you treat people. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with, the leadership, who's guiding you as a team leader makes a big difference. Because I might not be as successful as I am now if I wasn't on Mike's team back then. Because like back then, like Mike, he didn't play. Like if you didn't make your calls, he got on you. He held you accountable for everything. And
we don't got to talk about that. No, well,
I think
here's the thing.
I'm talking about but it helps though, and that's what's needed. Accountability, like if you're part of a team and we're going for this goal, and everybody's supposed to make 50 calls a day, and you don't do it, then you're not holding up your end of the bargain to push as a team. That's why the Denver Nuggets just won the championship, because they were the best team. There's no I, and that's why I keep telling all my friends that are LeBron fans. I'm like, man, it's one guy. It takes a team. This is a team sport. This isn't golf. It's a team sport.
Even golf's a team sport, though. You got to have other people to support you in golf. You got your caddy. Yep. They're going to offer advice. They're going to offer different perspectives. I want to go back here for just a second, because one of the things that you were talking about, like, hey, we have to be in here drilling and making 50 phone calls or doing whatever the thing is that you need to be doing. And I think one of the things you touched on here is it's the people that are doing the things that they don't want to do, but they know they need to do, are the ones that end up the most successful.
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those pieces. You commented earlier, you said, well, hey, I didn't, you didn't get that necessarily at the time. Like we were going through and learning sales process and so forth, but you had as an individual, is there a pinpoint in time that you could say, hey, you really your mindset moved from being a salesperson or a marketer or an employee into now I'm an entrepreneur and I have to learn management and I have to be a leader? Was there a switch for you, or what? How did that come about? Because you've grown a lot, man. You have grown a lot.
Well, okay. So what happened is I just kind of like started having these ideas, and I can't remember who it was, but I started to watch like motivational speakers like Eric Thomas and
Love Eric Thomas.
Was Earl Nightingale. I started watching that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would always say, like, write it down, whatever you want to do, write it down. So I started writing these little ideas in these books. I still have the books, the little dollar notebooks you get at like Walgreens.
Absolutely.
So I went and bought like 5 of them, and I just started just jotting anything. I would just grab the book and write it in there, and I like the Mactory. I have the book, the original book, when I started writing in it. I think we opened last year in 2022. Excuse me. I started writing out ideas for it in 2018. So it took me 4 years to make it real, right? I think I had the logo because I know a guy who does logos. And I think I had the idea, I had the name and everything for like maybe 2 years into it. I even have a whole page with just names, potential names, and I'm just writing the ideas down, So I think the switch for me was more like when I started to want to like really make a lot of money, right? So, because like in my mind, I always wanted to like make like 6 figures, right? And that was always like the entry point to me, like, for like wealth. When you look at like statistics, right? You see
that's
like,
how you knew you made it, right? If I made it, that's the jumping board, right?
Yeah, like if I could get to 100K, man, like my life will be changed, right? So I started looking around, I started seeing them like, okay, I started looking at statistics, and I started seeing that a lot of the most the high earners are entrepreneurs. So I was like, okay, so I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to figure this thing out. What can I do? So I can't remember what job I had at the time. But so I started buying sneakers locally. This is how the sneaker business started.
Right.
Sneakers and vintage. I started to buy sneakers locally. And
I remember you doing that. I remember it showing up in my feed. You know what I mean? Before I ran into you.
So I would buy shoes, take them home, and me and my son, and I'd make him help me clean them, and I'd relist them. I started doing that. Then I was like messing around on YouTube, and then this one guy, he was doing the sneakers too on YouTube. He started doing vintage T-shirts. So I was like, okay, I could do that too. So I started going to Goodwills and going to the bins and going around and getting vintage T-shirts and getting into that game and getting into that business and learning learning how it works, the inner workings. And now I go to like the secret rag houses and buy that stuff. So I got a little background right now.
You're good, man. You're in your restaurant right now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in the restaurant right now. I actually still work, shifts here every day almost. I have a staff, but I just like to be hands on, man. I gotta feel it. I gotta make sure that it's like I trust them to execute, but I just love to touch it. This is my thing.
Sure.
And I touch the other business. I try to touch the other business every day too. You know what I mean? So if I have to work 14 hours, then that's just what it is. It's like success has no like set hours, man. Like it, I see a lot of that like on social media, and that's kind of why like I told my wife I'm gonna start being a little more vocal, because like who other than the people that are actually doing it to like tell people, because I see a lot of like I feel like it's scammy. They're like, buy my ebook. I'll show you how to make $1 million, all while you're sitting on your couch. Like, dude, no one I know that's successful has done it that way. So,
it takes work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think that's one of the things I really do admire about you, is because you said you just dropped a nugget of, I think, some of the most very powerful statement when you said, success doesn't have any set hours. No, entrepreneurship doesn't have any set hours. We were talking just a few minutes before the show, and one of the things that you commented, because we're talking about, I think a lot of people view entrepreneurship as like that's that thing, but you still have to be able to lead. You still have to be able to lead and manage yourself. You still have to be able to lead and manage the people that are around you. You do have to be a good example, and that's why I think it's so important. Like, you're not going to make $1 million in your underwear on the couch. I mean, some one-off dude somewhere might have, right? But I think there's a lot of value in hard work, and that's something I definitely see in you, having gone after just starting with the sneaker stuff like that. That's hard work to go to those individual places and then clean that stuff up and resell them to where you're at now. That's a successful business. It's drop shipping. It's functioning, and now you're still actively out and working in the restaurant. One of the pitfalls I think that you mentioned as we were talking is you had said, and I don't remember if this is the other day when we were catching up or if it was earlier today, but you said, man, I didn't realize all of the things that go into it. And you were saying right before, like the P&L, the hiring, the firing, the staffing, all those things.
Yeah. All the little wheels that turn to make a business move, every little, oh my goodness. I don't know where to start, but like, it's like,
just start.
From when you get the idea and you write it all out, right? And you write it all out, and then half of that is going to be wrong when you actually start to like do it, right? So you rent the space, and then there's those problems, right? We got to move this plumbing, or this, we need electrical outlet here, or whatever, right? You got problems. Like right now, I don't have right now our volume's picking up, so what happens is I don't have places to put things, right? So either I buy it small and I'm always running to the store, or right now I'm trying to figure out a way to solve my storage problem. So I feel like as a business owner or even a manager of a business, right? Because I look at like your managers are like your managers should be just as vested as the owner.
Okay.
Because your management team, they're going to be like right under the owner, right? That's who the owner's usually calling. Like I remember vividly like things being wrong at the dealership, and like Joe wouldn't say nothing to me about it, but he would come to you or one of the other managers, and then you guys would go. He would delegate that to someone, and then you guys would make it happen. You know, like it could be something as simple as just ballooning up the lot, right?
Sure.
So, you know, you have to learn how to delegate things, and then you have to learn like what you're going to do every day, you know, because you can't do everything, right? So, you know, when you're putting these things together, you know, it's difficult, but like you just have to realize like you either got to want it or you just don't. You know what I mean? Like if you really want it, you're going to do whatever it takes to do it, you know? Like I remember when I first became a salesman, you know, I was a Green Pea, and I remember you were telling me, I remember like so many times you telling me like, look, man, either you either want to hit the goal or you don't, and you're going to put the work in or you're not. So you pick, you choose, you know? And I remember that always being the thing, like, look, if you don't want to do it, you can leave. Or you can be the 5-car, 8-car sales guy or whatever, you know. You can be that guy, you know, because there's an average. I think the average car salesman was like an 8-car guy back then or something like that, right?
Sure.
So like, yeah, you can be an 8-car guy or you can be a 20-car guy, you know, and you know, you see what that looks like, right? Because when I came over there, I was with Richard, right, every day.
Yep.
You know?
I remember that.
I was with Richard every day, learning from him, learning how to do walk-arounds, learning how to, you know, just learning how to overcome objections and things like that, right? So you either want to learn it and you're going to immerse yourself in it and you're going to do it and you're going to crush it, or you're going to be okay and just be average, and that's, you know, that's okay if that's what you want. You know, I'm not the guy that's going to like, you know, I'm not going to clown you over it, but like me, I'm trying to do everything 100% of the time, like perfect.
Sure.
I can, you know what I mean? Like I want for every Mac bowl that comes out of my kitchen to be right, like just like how they saw it on Instagram. And that's what I tell my team. I said, hey, whoa. They saw it on Instagram and the lines were this way on the ranch, on the buffalo chicken, right? The lines were nice. So if you do if I do my lines perfect every time and you do them sloppy, you just gypped our customer. That's
so
how I feel about it.
It's interesting how much correlates. And Ben in the comments asked a week, a month. I think he's asking about number of cars. It was in a month. We always used to talk in a month, Ben.
Yeah,
like it was 8 cars in a month, or 20 cars in a month, or 40 cars in a month, whatever we always look at it in a month. And you'd go at the end of the month, you could go from hero to zero or zero to hero, depending on how you placed yourself. But
I remember you had I think it was you who made it. You coded like this little it's like a scoreboard kind of in a sense, right?
You still use it.
You still use it? Okay, yeah. And I remember when that thing came out, like everybody was like trying to be on top of that board every day. We were trying to figure out, like every day me and Richard were trying to figure out how we could be like number 1 and number 2. Like he would say, he was like, he would only allow himself to be behind me because he felt like since he trained me, then it was okay if I beat him every now and again, right? But we were always trying to figure out how to be on top of that thing, right? And I think
absolutely.
See, you're still using it today, so that lets you know. You know, that
one thing that you said that transcends, like you're talking about, you went from selling cars, learning sales and marketing, to selling shoes and vintage shirts, to now, being a restaurateur. You're selling yourself all the time. You made that comment earlier, and you said, look, if I'm like, you're constantly, you are the one that makes the difference in a business. You as the individual, you as the waiter, you as the manager, you as the owner, you that person. Fast forward, you commented and you said, look, hey, I'm trying to have everything be perfect every time. But is it realistic in business?
No.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You already answered. I haven't even asked the question.
No. It's never going to, even I'm going to mess the lines up.
Okay,
And
but is it realistic? So there's a difference in I think what you would say is there's a difference in perfection every time
there's a
versus the
goal.
pursuit of
The
perfection.
goal is here. The goal is up here, right?
Hmm.
So this is what I learned, right? From being in the car business or any sales, right?
Sure.
I feel like, if you're in sales, your goal should be, to make the max. Look at your pay plan and like, what's the max? What's the top guy doing? And go higher than him for the goal. Because what's that thing? I think it's like shoot for the moon, and or if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars or something like that. I don't know
Right.
exactly, but yeah, make it really high. Like if you want to make $1 million, this is what I tell people. You want to make $1 million, like gross revenue or whatever, right? You want your company to do $1 million gross revenue. You need
Sure.
to shoot for 5. Shoot for 5.
Okay.
Do the numbers. What do the numbers look like on 5? And aim for that. Because if you just go for the million, you're probably going to only get you're probably only going to get like 500-600,
Only.
Yeah, you're only going to get
That's it. Well, so here I'm gonna share real quick. One of the comments, Ben in the comments says, "Agree 100%. My dad coaches brass bands, and he's really good at it. He tells them if you want your band to sound better, you have to do some practice so you play better." So
Yeah.
it's all about the player contributing to the team, and it doesn't matter if it's bands, it doesn't matter if it's restaurants, it doesn't matter if it's sales, it doesn't matter if it's team sports. The reality is, first and foremost, if you want your team to be better, you have to be better, right?
Yep.
So,
Exactly. So
man,
I'll share another story, right? So like
yeah.
Saturday night, busy, dining rooms packed, DoorDash orders, online order. I just got a new website and like it's going crazy, right? We have sometimes for like 40, 50 people on the site at one time.
Hmm.
Right? One of my cooks, he's having trouble. So I bumped him off the line. I'm like, watch me. So I look up, he's looking at his phone. So I stopped what I was doing, and we're talking about tickets everywhere, full rail. In the middle, I stop. And I say, hey man, look, I pulled you off so that you can watch how I flow so you can get better. Not for you to look at your phone and play around. You either want to get good at this, like, look, we sell mac and cheese bowls, all right? So look, anybody can sell mac and cheese bowls, but we got to do it better. We got to do it the best. If you're not coming in here to be the best, then you could just go home. And I'll close and I'll stay here until 1 a.m. if I have to. It don't matter. But I guarantee you one thing. When all these folks leave tonight, I'm expecting a 5-star review. I'm always going for a 5-star review. If I don't get a 5-star review, then I'm probably going to send that customer a coupon to come back and let me try to get that 5 again because I need it. I just have to win. It's just my mentality, man. I have to win. If I feel like even a 4.9 is not enough to me. Like I need it to be, I just need to be the best. I just want to be the best. One of the best.
So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Yeah. Let me frame this up. One, because you were talking about, okay, so this idea started in 2018. It came to fruition in 2022. Like you're living the dream. This is something that you manifested, you got excited about.
Started from a joke.
Started from a joke.
A joke. Yeah,
so tell me about it.
So my wife, she would make the mac and cheese for like, we would go to like a friend birthday party, a family's get together, Thanksgiving, wherever we go, she would always bring mac and cheese. And like after a while, people started expecting us to bring mac and cheese.
Right.
So I had a buddy, and he would always have these crazy parties, like crazy parties at his house. And one day he calls me. He's like, hey, I need you to get your wife to make 2 trays of mac and cheese because everybody's talking about the mac and cheese from the last party. So I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. I just kind of blew it off. I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to her. We're coming to the party, so we'll make the mac and cheese and we'll come. Cool. So About a week later, it's about a week before the party. He's like, no, man. I need to know for sure you're bringing the mac and cheese. Like everybody's like buzzing about the mac and cheese. And I'm like, maybe I should start a business and cater to mac and cheese.
Right.
And he's like, yeah. That is a good idea. But can you bring the mac and cheese, 2 trays? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. We're going to bring it. So from that joke, when I was doing mainly doing the sneakers and the vintage business, I was in LA and I saw a place that was doing the same thing I'm doing here.
Sure.
Selling mac and cheese bowls. So me and the wife went and we tried it and it was good. And they were packed. And I did some more research and I saw they have multiple locations and, you know, and I kind of poked around and I went and looked at their other locations and I just kind of, you know, this is what you do if you want to be an entrepreneur. Like when I go to like Walmart, I'm checking their game out. I'm seeing what they're doing. I watch you guys. I watch you guys' marketing all the time. Joe's always been a crazy marketer. I remember he dropped the cars everywhere.
Sure.
He used to have all, and then I remember when he had it was like him and Ann, the more heartfelt, like I seen the different marketings, you know, and I'm like, and I'm learning like, okay, and I'm just seeing, I'm like, okay, I just see how I can put it together. I'm just trying to figure out how I can put it together. Because that's really all that matters. It's not that it's that hard. It's just, you just have to sit down and come up with the vision and put it together and then, you know, hope that people like it. Because that's at the end of the day, like, you know, people are going to make a decision. They're going to say, oh, we love it or we don't love it. And that's okay. And not everything works, you know?
So I'm gonna grab you before you're able to go on to the next thing there. Cause you said not everything works. You said earlier, hey, I learned a lot. Usually when people say they learn a lot, it means you took some hits, you took some fails, right? So
I took some fails. I took some fails at first. So what
do you do? What do you do when you don't hit it? What do you do? What for you? And if you're giving advice to, you know, people that are watching this or listening to this, right, like, what do you take that hit, you take that big L, right? I took the loss. What's the next step?
For me, usually I'll just chill out and I'll kind of, you know, I'll get by myself and I'll just start thinking. I'll say, okay, what happened? Okay. And then I start dissecting that. And then I start dissecting, like, what do I need to do to make it better next time? You know, because that's my thing is like, today we weren't great, right? So tomorrow, what things do we need to improve on to be great? Right. So did we run out of, I'll give you an example. Did we run out of pasta? Right.
That's a big deal in that business.
Did we run out of cheese? Right. Did we run out of an ingredient? Are we too short staffed? You know, what's the problem? I like to define the issue. Once we find the issue, we start gaming around for the solutions. Once you figure out the solution, you just go. You put it in motion, you know? And once you do that, you know, I feel like that's like a really easy thing. And then nowadays, there's so many cheat codes. You know, there's YouTube, there's other people, there's business owners on YouTube, and you can literally type your problem in and they'll give you a whole solution. You know, there's probably 1 million sales guys on there. So if you're in sales and you're trying to figure out a system to where you can get more sales, you could probably go on there and just use someone else's system. You know, that's one thing I learned is you don't have to try to invent everything. You know, don't invent everything. It takes too much time. Just look at somebody else's, how they're doing it, and just kind of put your spin on it. That's the best way to win.
Well, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they try to though.
Yeah, I'm not the only person selling mac and cheese. I just put my spin on it.
You got a good spin, man. Your menu is insane. Speaking of that, I need to put this up on the screen so people know. Like, if you're in Colorado Springs or if you ever come through there, you got to check out. It's the Mactory. You can see it on his shirt, right? Gourmet mac and cheese. I put on there gourmet mac and cheese and so much more.
Yeah.
It's seriously the menu. What else? I'm gonna step outside the leadership realm for a minute. What else do you have? What sort of mac and cheese? Expand. Tell people a little bit about it for a minute. Pump the business.
Okay. So we specialize in mac and cheese, but we've also added a couple other options. We have a red sauce, which is like a spaghetti sauce that we kind of added our own spice to, so it's kind of unique. It's not just like a canned sauce, and we put it on there. It's something we actually like developed ourselves, and took about a month for us to get it a product that we really liked. We also have an Alfredo sauce. So we have, at the moment, I think we have 13 signatures. Yeah, 13 signatures. Those are also available as a red sauce bowl or an Alfredo bowl or a mac bowl. So you pick. And then we also have a build your own. And then we have a few appetizers. We have beer ramen, and then we have a
beer ramen.
Birria ramen.
Beer ramen. Okay.
Yeah, birria ramen, and then we have Frito pie. We have grilled cheese for the kids. It's really to me, it's a simple menu. A lot of people look at it and they're like, "Oh man, it's a crazy menu." But like my food rep, he loves it. He's like, "Oh man," he's like, "I can't believe you never owned a restaurant before. Like how you designed your menu." He's like, I would have thought you like knew what you were doing." And I'm
Dude,
like,
it's super simple, and but it's all good, like down home. Comfort foods.
Yeah, like most things on the menu, like we hand scratch make. Like our chicken is not like a fried bag, like a frozen breaded chicken that we buy from like a supplier. It's not like that. Like we get like cases of chicken breast, we dice it ourselves, we season it ourselves, we buttermilk, soak it, and then we flour and fry it in house in our own. It's our own recipes.
It's good stuff, man.
It's just, I feel like it's the way to do it. I don't know. It's just my thing, to maybe do it the long way.
But is it the long way or is it the right way? Right. Even on something simple, if you have a lot of passion about it and you take it personally. I got a question for you, because it came up in the sidebar here.
Yeah.
Big Wheel Bandit, who he actually works with me right now. He says, I think one of the biggest obstacles is saving up for the initial investment to open a business. Can you expand on that? Like, how did you start that? Where do you get the money from? What do you,
so with the sneaker thing, I started off just, saving up out of paychecks. I started. So I feel like the first thing, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I feel like the first thing you got to do is you got to learn how to manage money to an extent. So like if you're the type of person that can't manage their paychecks just on a normal basis, you know what I'm saying? Like put a certain amount to savings, a certain amount to be used, because you have to consume. Money is a tool, so you have to spread it around and make it do what it do, or it'll just be gone, right? You'll look up and you'll be like, man, I got like $14 left. So
sound like you've been there.
So for sure. So I feel like the first thing you got to do is you got to learn how to manage some money, right? Which my wife is good at that, right? So I starting off, I would just budget, right? Like, okay, I'm going to spend $100 on buying sneakers vintage this week. I'd go out, I'd buy what I buy, clean it up, and I'd wait for sales. And this is me doing my regular, Jay at the same time, right? And then just posting shoes on like wherever you can, eBay, Poshmark, local, getting into your local groups, getting into your local areas, getting known in the little circles around your own town is really important, right? So I feel like, if you want it bad enough, like you can give up that thing. Like you give up that, you might have to give up like that going out to eat, which that doesn't help me a lot, right? In my business, but you give, if you have that habit, you break that habit, I don't know, you might have to give up cigarettes, or you have to give up something. You have to give up something, to get, my uncle, he has this saying, he's been telling me this since I was like 14 years old.
It's different now, probably. First
comes the suffering and the sacrifice, and then comes the reward. He always says that. Every time we talk, he still says that. And he always tells me, he's like, if you suffer on the front, in the back, you'll be rewarded. You know, the reward will come. So like, if you got a business idea or whatever that you want to start, you just have to start it small too. Like I met this kid the other day, and he's like, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur." He's like, "Look at my business plan." And he had like all these numbers, and like it was impressive. He's young. I think he's like 20, 24 or something like that. He had like all these breakdowns, and it seemed like he had everything figured out. But then like, you know, I'm like in the trenches entrepreneur, right? So I say, "Hey, what about this? And what about that?" And he's like, "Ooh, I didn't think about that. Ooh." So at the end of our conversation, he's like, "Can we like switch numbers, man? Because you got some good." And then because I'm thinking in my mind, like, sure, because I'd love to be able to use, you know, he's good at like the graphs and the, you know, schematics and figuring out like, you know, what goes here and there and projections and stuff. But like the sheer like getting it done, that's where he needs help. So it's gonna be a good relationship, you know. So I think that leads into like the next thing for like you know, if you want to start a business, I would say your first thing is like figure out where you can trim a little bit of money off, but then like you have this idea in your head about your business, how it looks, right?
Sure.
So how do you start the business today or next week or sometime soon, not in 5 years or when someone decides to stroke you a $300,000 check, because like that was his plan. It's like some investor is gonna stroke you this check and see your vision, right? That's what people think how it works. It doesn't work like that. You have to take your money and put it on your vision. You know, you might can get an uncle or a brother or somebody to give you a couple somethings, but in the beginning, it's you. So you got to figure out how you can start it off, you know, from nothing.
So how did you get into that? Like because the restaurant business isn't cheap. You got stuff you got to get. How did you move?
I already had a multi-million-dollar grossing business.
So you took it from that business.
So I was already making profit from that business, and what I did is I didn't spend it. I could have went and got me a brand new Escalade, but instead I got a 2012.
Well,
yeah, see,
first comes the sacrifice, then comes the reward.
I could have got my Rolex, but I don't have it. I could have bought it, but I didn't. Instead, I bought a flat top and cold tables and all the tables that are in here and painted and rented this place and did all that instead. See.
Sure.
So, you know, it's where you want to do. A lot of people, they want to go on the vacation. You might have to use that vacation money to start the business. That's where it comes. That's really where it comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things you said here just a minute ago when we, you know, we were talking, and it's like you were talking about because you're training the next generation of Blue, right? You have your daughter and your son, they work for you, your wife, you guys work together. So it's a family business that you're operating. But you know, when you were talking about vision and passion and you have your family involved, like what are some of the most valuable things you were talking? Yeah. And you were very passionate when we were talking. I told you, I said, don't spend all the gold before we go live, man.
Yeah.
Because
you said, so I had here working here now. We have my son's here. I have my wife here. My daughter's here. You know, one of her friends works here. One of my son's friends actually works here. So like, you know, we have like a lot of friends and family working in here. You know, we've had some people that I don't know work here as well. So, you know, it's just I love being able to provide an opportunity for not only my kids, but for, you know, some of their friends and things like that, you know. And then just to be able to have the workplace be, you know, how I want it to be. You know, that's part of the freedom of being an entrepreneur is you get to cultivate the environment that you want, you know. And you know, I'm pretty easygoing as long as, like, you know, my thing is, man, like I learned from one of the things I learned about being a car business. and being in sales is like, man, your customers number one, man. Like if they're not happy, bro, you got problems. So like that's my number one thing is like, okay, are we taking care of our customers? You know, if we have a customer that's like, oh well, you guys didn't do this right, or oh, okay, sorry, give us another chance to make it right. You know, if you give us another shot, I'm sure we'll knock it out. That's one of the things I send in messages, like when we have an issue. That's one of the things. One of my go-to sayings is, "Hey, sorry we missed the mark this time, but if you give us another chance, I guarantee you we'll knock it out of the park for you." You know what I mean? Like it just has to happen like that.
Well, I think that's a really valuable. I think a lot of people that are leaders or managers or higher ups in organizations, you said something to me just now. You said something to our audience just now that I think is really powerful. I think a lot of people have a problem saying, I'm sorry. A lot of people have a problem genuinely apologizing and meaning it if they've made a mistake. Do you think that to be
Really?
the case?
Right.
Man, I think so. I think right now, just right now, societally, there's a lot of interactions that I've had that it seems like there's in a lot of areas of business, um, there's a lot. And again, my perception, not
Right.
everybody, but I feel like there's a lot of entitlement. People think, well, I'm owed something because I work here. And so I think that's really classy for you when you're just like, hey, I'm sorry we screwed up. Like that's something that is so simple to be able to say and own.
Now, I'm not gonna say
Change.
now. If someone's just being like a butthole, then
Well, I'm not talking about
you
that.
know me, Mike.
I do.
Yeah. So but if I feel like okay, so this restaurant is like kind of like a hot thing going on right now. I feel like we were just on the news and our social media. I've taken a real like big stance on social media with my business when it comes to business. So I feel like when people see a certain thing, if you portray your place as a certain thing, then when they come, they deserve for it to be that, right? Like I said earlier, like if the Buffalo Chicken Mac has the nice lines on it, and we send out that one that doesn't have as nice a lines, I feel like we missed, right?
Sure.
But sometimes like there's just nothing I could do, right? That one just gotta go. It's gotta go out. Like, right? There's nothing I can do. So like if that customer says anything about that, then I'm gonna make it right. Period. Point blank. Because what is a business with no customers? If you don't have any clientele, you're dead in the water.
Absolutely.
And people work hard for their money. Most people work real hard for their money, man. They're not partnering with it easy. And it's gonna get harder. So that means that us as professionals, we have to step our game up, and that's who's going to win is who's stepping their game up, you know what I mean, and treating them right and making them feel welcome, you know what I mean. Think about like what we used to. You still in the car business, so like if you're in the car business or whatever you sell a car, man, you're selling a high ticket item.
Absolutely.
You're selling somebody something. What's the average car deal now? Is it like 50 grand or something crazy now?
Well, the average new car, I think that last look is like between $41,000-$44,000. It's insane.
Come on, man. So somebody buying that's a big deal, man. They don't just buy. They're not just buying the Nissan Pathfinder or whatever. They're not just buying that. The guy, the guy or lady or whoever, however you go by or whatever, that makes a difference. You're the difference maker. You're the difference maker, man. Be the difference maker. Like when you get up, they deserve to work with somebody who's a professional that knows. Like I remember Richard Evans, he said he used to drill at me all the time. Like, if you don't know nothing about these cars that are out here, you don't have no business selling them. So you better go out there and learn with everything you can about that car. You know what I'm saying? That was one thing that he would always force me to do is go out and walk the lot and see what was new. And if I didn't know about that new Honda's audio system and safety features, go and get online and read about it and figure it out. Because there's going to be somebody coming to look at that car and they're going to want to buy that car from someone who's knowledgeable, professional, knowledgeable, and that treats them with, some respect and class, man. Like, we got to bring the showmanship back to business. Like, I feel like a lot of people, they go to work and they just do enough to not get fired, man. Like, I seen that the other day. I had a thing on Facebook with this guy about it, because he said at work, I just do enough to just not get fired. And I said, okay. I said, now when your manager or the owner points you out and makes an example of you, don't feel bad about it. Because I know if I was your manager or your boss or something, you were on my team, or I know if they were on Mike's team, there's no way that you're going to be on my team for long with that attitude. It's just not going to happen, bro. You're going to go. You're going to have to go be on someone else's team with that kind of mentality. You got to
drag sales down somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm only looking for superstars to be on my team. I don't want no weak people on my team. I don't need them. I won't have them.
Well, let me ask you a question. What happens if you make a hiring mistake? What happens if you get somebody
I hire everybody on a trial, 30-day, trial basis. I'm not committing.
What can you do to help build them up and help make them successful? Because sometimes people just, if they don't know, they don't know, right?
I try to get them I try to help them with the, like, on the mentality side, because, I feel like it's a mindset, because, like, yeah, I have down times and down days, and I have days where, like, I go in to walk in, something will happen, I'll go in to walk in and just yell,
Sure.
And I've had to, like, back in the day, I was kind of like a hothead, right? So I had to learn how to like swallow that and, hey, okay, look, let's do this. Let's try this. Boom. Let's go this way. Let's figure it out. Let's take a breath. Let's, I don't know, let's figure it out how we can get back to greatness. That's my thing. How do we get back on track? Yeah, maybe we fell off for a sec. How do we get back? How do we get back positive? Because think about it like this. If you get, let's say you have a whole month of negative and you sell 4 cars, right? Only 4 cars. You just let down your whole family. You let down your team. You let down your store. You let everyone down. You let down your customers. Because the reason you didn't get those, yeah, for sure. Because you're the reason you didn't get those sales. Or you're the reason that you didn't even get up and go talk to anyone. So I feel like it starts inside of the individual, right? But then as a leader, so if you're a manager or you're an owner or something like that, it's your attitude. If you got a bad attitude, I don't know what you need to go. You might need to go find a happy place and go look at the sun or do some yoga. Find something, man, that gets you into your happy place and where you can be, ready to roll. Because it's, I'm watching, like, I watch a lot of, like, financial news and, like, they're talking about, like, a downturn and, I'm trying to have all my businesses survive everything.
Absolutely.
So, and I know Joe's made it through a bunch of these, hard times. I've seen dealerships already close.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that lets you know right there, he's obviously got some good leadership in place under him. You know what I'm saying? That's keeping things going and keeping things, right. Because you can't please everybody, but if you keep yourself positive and you stay focused on the right things, you'll win. And because that's really what it's all about. Like, who wants to show up and lose?
Nobody.
No one. I don't think no one, like, trains and goes to practice and puts on the uniform, or the tie to go lose.
Right, spot on. So, hey, as we're coming down, We're coming down to the end of the hour. I'm going to ask you one more question just at the tail end here, because one of the things, and it's been said, entrepreneurship certainly is about self-leadership first, right? Like you have to be able to lead yourself. You have to before you're going to guide anybody else, you have to lead yourself. And I
Yep.
know we've talked a lot about business and entrepreneurship and so forth. And I thank you for that because and I know you're functioning in the restaurant. So thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I'm going to ask you this question. Would you say leadership, whether it's self leadership or leading other people, is it more about passion or purpose, or is it something else?
I think passion and purpose is part of it, but I think that like your why has to be something that is in here. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I mean, yeah. I mean, they say, "Oh, you can't really be money motivated." I know some people say that, but like for somebody, that could be the motivation. So like I feel like I think the main thing is to have a clear goal. I think that was what my time in the car business taught me, to make goals, write them down, and actually figure out the steps to get to that goal. Like I remember one thing like I learned uh, from you guys was like, okay, if you want to sell X amount of cars, you look at your closing rate from last month and figure out how many people you think you need to talk to, or you know what I mean, and come up with a strategy. Like you got to strategize your success. You can't just sit there and hope and pray for it. You can hope and pray, but you still got to get up and have a plan every day and work the plan. That's really
Absolutely.
like the main thing. So just having passion and purpose ain't enough. It also takes, the hard work. It also takes, you know, being able to say, like you said, it takes being able to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we screwed that up. Let me fix it." Try to treat people like how would you want to be treated? That's a lot of the time what I tell my cooks. I tell my people, I say, look, if you came here and paid $15 for a mac and cheese bowl and they put this in front of you, would you be happy? If you say no, and I tell them, I say no, okay, throw it in the trash and make it over. You see, they're worried that I'm gonna be mad because they're doing that. But I don't care about that, because at the end of the day, this is a business and we need customers to be happy to come back. If
Absolutely.
it's not right, throw it away and make it over.
I think that goes
Absolutely.
for a lot of things. You could say, hey, if it's not right, throw it away and make it over.
Fix it. It
Yeah.
gotta be right, man. Like, no way. We gotta up our standard. I feel like I go to a grocery store. I always joke with the managers there. I joke with them. I say, "Man, I'm gonna meet you in the break room later." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work here because you have to ring your own groceries up
Yeah.
now."
Oh, yeah. I know.
For the most part, I mean, they still like King Super. Certain ones they still have, but I noticed like every month or two they kick out another register or two, and they put another self scan in. So like
Mhm.
I feel like we're like maybe only a couple more years away from full. It's going to be fully self scan, right? So what difference does it make for me to go to your business brick and mortar when I could just have everything come to my door now? It's the same feeling, you know,
Absolutely.
but no personal. It's the reason why I like your local butcher. They go out of business. I used to go to Andy's Meat Market all the time.
Yeah. I remember that place.
Talk
Absolutely.
to them about the meat cuts, talk to them about this and that, different cuts. They educate you, right? So now you just go to the grocery store and pick it up. Or you can Google it, right?
Have it sent right to your door.
But I feel like the next batch of like uh great businesses and stuff are gonna go back. They're actually gonna revert back to the old model of the service, the service and the class, having some class and some service and some professionalism to it, is really what's gonna separate. Um, I think, when I was in the car business, I was kind of on my way out. I can't remember what dealership it was, but I was going to work there. I interviewed, so I asked them, I said, so what's the pay plan? And they said, oh no, we don't do that. You get paid flat per car, da da da. I said, oh man, that's not fun at all. I'm cool. I just left.
It's not fun.
That's not. I'm not. And I keep seeing it. And I saw another dealer the other day. I think the one that bought. Because I worked at Pikes Peak Acura for a long time, and I was buddies with a lot of guys there. I had went there and I was looking for a couple guys. They all are gone.
Sure.
I noticed that the guy who owned it, he sold it. You know, they're like, oh yeah, he sold it. Da 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 da. You know, I've been out of the loop for a while, so I look around and I notice no haggle, and I'm like, no haggle. Like, man, we're just getting weaker and weaker, man. Like,
that's one of the things. I do think you're right. I think there'll be some reverting to some brick and mortar, some real service, some real individual personal service. Absolutely.
I like that.
Hey, we're coming right down to the end. So Blue, thank you so much for spending some time with me, for sharing your knowledge, sharing your journey, dropping some fire bombs here on the show on the Leadership Toolkit. I appreciate you very much, man.
For sure.
And for everybody, again, if you're here local in Colorado Springs, go check out the Mactory with my friend Blue there. You could say you saw it on the show. Make sure that, he's as real gets, right? Real recognizes real. That's one of the things they say. And he is a real dude. He's good people. So check that out. Blue, I wish you success in your what was it? Fly kicks and vintage business. Take him back off. 1 second.
Yeah. I'm kind of rebooting that one. So, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I am going to go ahead and take us out here real quick. And thank you again for joining us. So, hey, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Leadership Toolkit. I appreciate you. Remember, check this out every Wednesday at 12:05 Mountain at 2:05 Eastern Time. You can check it at theleadershiptoolkit.com. Also, you can check out the YouTube channel that you're probably watching it on here, or any of my other social media accounts. You can connect with me at Lead the Team, at Mike Phillips, and certainly, again, theleadershiptoolkit.com. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. We'll see you right back here again next week.